Yes, guys, you know what time it is. It's your boy Jack here at the Irish Hotspur, here to deliver you a combined 11 with our friend here yet again, Northside, joining us, taking the time out of his day to probably big up his side Arsenal, as well as hopefully, like we know, a very level-headed Arsenal fan, a very rare species, may I add. But the level-headed Arsenal fan is probably as well going to defend his side for picking his players, as well as maybe giving some Spurs fans a bit of credit. I do want to kind of give him kind of the best do his or kind of best respect of his time. So we're going to kind of get straight into it, everybody. It's also a bit of a preview as well. So we're going to kind of get warmed up, get the juices flowing, ask him a bit kind of about Arsenal, maybe his thoughts going into this sort of North London derby, because I think it's a bit more of a special one this time around. Actually, two teams going up against each other actually happen to be top of the league. I think it's the first time ever that one team, in fact, in the case of Spurs this time, could actually leapfrog the other and go top of the league. I think that's the first time ever in North London derby history. So big match ahead of this one. We're going to be doing the combined 11, all that sort of good stuff, but we're going to get straight into it. But Northside, kind of just, easy question, to be to get off the bat here. What's your kind of expectations going to this North London derby? Is 3 points an absolute must? What's the game plan here?
Has to be. I think that has to always be the requirement for Arsenal. And yeah, we have to win. We've got a great record against you at home. So long may that continue. But as I said before, I'm predicting a draw. So I'm a little bit nervous. I can't lie.
Yeah, I have a bit of nerves as well, I must say, going into this one, to be honest, because I feel like whereas we always kind of knew us Spurs fans, we were probably kidding ourselves Northside if we really thought we were going to be getting 3 points or something like that. But the reason I kind of have nerves this time around is because I kind of am back in my team. I think that we should probably get a point at least, or maybe even more in this time. And I know the history suggests that it's almost impossible for any of the away sides to get any sort of result out of this. But I don't know. I feel like Spurs this season, we have high expectations for once as Spurs fans. And this would be a big way to prove it, is to get some sort of point or some sort of performance, away over at the Emirates. Before I forget, everybody, do smash that like button. Keep getting your comments in. And then as well, feel free to throw in a super chat. It's a great way to support the channel. It's a great way also to ask Northside or myself anything about this preview / this combined 11. Good to see you, KPV, Bobby K, Teo, as well as Welsh Gal. Always good to see you, Welsh Gal, in the house. And then Juan, Danielle, Sandoval, absolute legends. But kind of another sort of preview question kind of aimed at you here is, are you kind of happy with the season so far? I know you've kind of maybe never been the biggest Arteta fan, but I mean, top of the league, I guess you've beaten what's in front of you, except for Man United. Are you happy right now, or are you still a bit skeptical?
See, it's difficult because it's a tough one, because I'm happy with us beating the teams that we need to beat, but I'm not happy with the preparation of the squad. And what I mean is,
if
you look away from our starting 11, our side the bench is trash, and I just feel like we got rid of a lot of players without actually replacing them with better or the same level. And that's why I just feel like the storm is coming over Arsenal. Like Fortnite, when you're running away from that storm and you should have been moving on the map and you didn't, and the storm is now closing in, and now you're trying to leg it, trying to find a car for anybody that does play Fortnite. That's what I feel like with Arsenal, because when you look at the starting 11, it's decent. I wouldn't say it's amazing. The midfield hasn't been that much improved. We don't have two good strikers anymore. Last season we had one. This season we have one. We still don't have rotation for our wingers. Defensively, when you look at the centre backs, they're not great. But taking away Saliba, they're not that great. We didn't go out and get another right back on the same level as Kieran Tierney. So when you're competing in 4 competitions, the cup competitions, the league, trying to go for the league, you're trying to compete in Europe, you do need a squad. And that's something that I can't lie. As much as I hate Tottenham, what annoys me with Arsenal is we're 4 years down our project and process.
You feel like Spurs are catching up.
And you guys have only had your manager for a couple of months, and yet you've been able to plug so many positions with quality rotation. And for the first time, you guys have actually got a bench and rotation, and you can actually put Son on the bench, and you can put some of your starters on the bench. Yeah. We don't have that. If Saka and Martinelli doesn't do the job, we don't have anyone as good, if not better, to come off the bench. So as much as I'm happy, I think Man United exposed exactly what I've been seeing when the summer window closed. That if you score against us, we don't have anyone on the bench. We have players like Lokonga on the bench. We have, Onemi, when he's fit, he's on the bench. We have Nketiah on the bench. We have Marquinhos, players that are not ready or not even good enough. Do you get what I mean? So
we share similar problems in that regard, I think, with certain parts of our field. But I know what you mean, and in the fact that, and you brought up a good point, that the fact that Arteta is 4 years down the road and he's still chopping and changing players, and he's still getting rid of players that he found use for before, and now all of a sudden, like you said, he just gets rid of them and doesn't find a replacement for them, and now you're kind of stuck in that sort of position where the squad isn't as deep or as sort of experienced as you would like it to be. In fact, he seems to enjoy having mostly inexperienced players by the looks of things at this moment in time. And the fact that he's 4 years down the road, I don't know, it's probably often kind of forgotten about, because you guys do play some pretty silky football. You guys do play some pretty aesthetically pleasing, on the eye kind of football. But at the same time, when he's been there 4 years, you would probably expect that by that time period, you're playing kind of a nice sort of brand of football. So I know what you mean. You get caught between praising Arteta too much and then realizing, like, this guy's been in the job like quite a long time. Like, he should have something to show for maybe by now. So I know
it's why we clocked top 4 last season to you. Our youngsters got us in the position that 10 games to go, we should have got top 4. But what happened is we have experienced players that are not good enough, like Xhaka, like Rob Holding, players like this that are not good enough, that are still in the team. And then in other positions, we didn't go out and strengthen. And that is one thing that annoys me, that this season it's the same old problem. And as soon as we start using the rotation players, you see dramatic drop off in levels in terms of this squad. And that is why, as much as people are hyping Arteta, at the same time, it's not smart to go into a season where you're a club like Arsenal, you're supposed to compete on all fronts, and yet you're so thin that you've got a 15-year-old on the bench. Now, if our starting lineup does what it needs to do, we can beat you. Because at the end of the day, I remember last season when we beat you and we were playing. I remember we completely annihilated you. I think it was at home. I think it was at home, and it reminded me
3-0 halftime
of the Invincibles. So it showed that this squad is able to play very good football, and that is why my standards raise even higher. Because if this squad has the ability to play like that, we should be playing like that week in, week out. But like I said, if they don't break you down, who have we got off the bench to win us the game? And really and truly, when you look at Arsenal, we don't really have killers going up front. We've got very good players, but we don't have killers. Saka's not a killer. He's a very good player, but he's not a killer in front of goal. Martinelli's not a killer in front of goal. Neither is Gabriel Jesus. The jury's still out. He's had, I think his best season was 14 goals in a season, the same as Lacazette. He's a very good player, and he has been lethal for Arsenal, but in the duration of a season, we are yet to see that.
That's right. It's true. Very good points there. Very good points there. Just a quick question. And, I think it'd just be interesting just from us, Spurs fans, to get kind of the synopsis on it. And I think especially coming from you here, 4 years on the job, like you've mentioned, and it's something worth mentioning. Let's say he misses out on top 4 yet again. And that has been kind of the big sort of, I don't know, sort of a tag you could put with Arteta, is despite the beautiful football, missing out on top 4 continuously. If he missed out on top 4 again, Northside, I know you probably already have wanted him sacked by now, but is that something that is absolutely sackable if he were to miss out on top 4 again?
Yeah, this bum needs to go now. Like, he ain't good enough. He needs
would
to
you,
go.
Would you expect the board to sack him? Like, because they seem to really love him and they seem to really praise him. But I feel like there's, if you know what I mean, would they, despite probably their love for Arteta, would they see a reason to sack him if he missed out on top 4 this season?
No, the argument will be he needs more of his players. It's a project. It's a system, and I don't see them getting rid of him, because at the end of the day, they need a shield so that they don't get the blame on them. The Cronkies know that most Arsenal fans focus on the manager. And as long as you've got a manager that's shielding and taking all the blame, they don't mind. As soon as it starts we start looking at them, then they start firing the managers. The same with Unai Emery. So as long as Arteta shields them from, fans like, complaining about the club and the direction of the club, they will keep using Arteta. But they'll use and abuse him until, it boils over and they can't justify him anymore. I don't think there's any pressure for him, to be honest with you.
That's sad to hear, to be honest, because while you guys are looking pretty good on paper and looking good on TV and whatnot, if you were not to show for anything at the end of the season, I mean, I don't know. It just shows not a lot of ambition, which certainly Spurs have been accused of in the past. But it's kind of crazy to see Arsenal are kind of now in that position. Before we start kind of picking these teams and whatnot, North side, any tactical things that we should know about Arsenal, going into this game? Kind of last little preview question for you. I know you guys play a bit of that 4-2-3-1 or maybe a 4-3-3 of sorts, but I would say the big difference I've noticed this season is Granit Xhaka probably playing further away from his own goal. And I think it was one of the Redknaps that even said it's actually kind of the tactic is to get him away from your own goal, because that way he'll commit fewer red cards and, huge, kind of a game changing sort of challenges or game, ending challenges and things like that. Any sort of like tactical changes from last season that you've noticed or from the Lego man?
Not really. Not really. I mean, we're holding the ball a lot better. My problem is we don't penetrate fast enough. So we'll start a counter attack, and sometimes, for example, I've seen Saka this season starting a counter attack. No one near him, and then you have players like Fabio Vieira walking upside him, and we allow the opposition to set back into their position and set up as a two banks of four. So. Listen, people are saying Arsenal are playing better. Let me be real. We're holding the ball better. We have a lot of possession, but with that possession, we are not being direct enough. And we're not open and carving up teams enough with the amount of possession that we have. Against Brentford, I will agree. I will be honest and say, you know what? We was a lot better against Brentford and we was a lot more direct, to be honest. And Granit Xhaka, I hate to say it because I don't rate him, but he was a big reason for that. And it seems like when Thomas Partey is able to sit, Granit Xhaka has the license to go forward. For me, I prefer Granit Xhaka going forward because if he loses the ball, at least you got Thomas Partey behind him to win the ball back, and you still have the centre backs. When Granit Xhaka is asked to, be the defensive midfielder, the game is too fast for him. He doesn't make the right move fast enough. He can easily be pressed. If you get two man on him and lose the ball and then do something silly. So that has been the main thing I've been seeing. Also, when Zinchenko's playing, he will interchange Zinchenko and Xhaka. I've seen them interchanging. So sometimes Xhaka will kick back and then Zinchenko will go forward and play almost like a midfielder. And I've seen them two kind of pivot and play off of each other. That's another thing this season. But other than that, it's kind of the same thing. We hold the ball well, but we don't really we don't carve teams open. And I think against Fulham and Aston Villa, we did allow them to almost come back into the game and get a draw. And luckily we had the quality to finish them off. But that is something that Spurs should be looking at, that, Arsenal can have the ball, but sometimes we don't have the player, the midfielder, to thread the ball for the eye of the needle like we had.
You're not doing it consistently enough, you feel like. Maybe you do it in patches, you'll carve a team open in patches, but it's not throughout the 90 minutes that you're just kind of slicing and dicing them. I know what you mean. And then as well.
And that's why we didn't win against Man United, because we had all the possession, but we wasn't direct enough. We couldn't break through their low block. Do you get what I mean? So that is why I'm frustrated. I'm nervous going up against you guys, because you guys are more than happy to let us have the ball and then hit us on the break. And we don't really have the quality to really carve you open.
And you feel like just being tidier in possession is really what you were saying. The major improvement that you've seen is like maybe we're just a bit tidier in possession. But like you said, maybe coming up against a team like us who love to not have the ball, how far does that really go, or how much does that really help you is kind of the question. Yeah, it's a big one. But everybody, we're going to get straight into this combined 11. You and I were kind of speaking in the back end. I know we go 3-4-3. You guys are kind of 4-2-3-1, 4-3-3. But in order to kind of make this simple, in order to kind of make this probably an easier discussion, I'd probably rather just do this as a back four and maybe some sort of standard 4-3-3, 4-2-3-1 of sorts. Are you okay with that, Northside?
Yeah, I'm cool with that.
Alrighty, let's do it. So we're going to go straight into goalkeepers then. Ramsdale versus Lloris here. I'm going to kind of get it started. I think Lloris is a much better shot stopper to this day than Ramsdale, but I am one of those guys, Northside, that really does enjoy the likes of kind of I should say, a ball playing goalkeeper, a guy that is good in possession, because I think where the game is sort of headed these days is like, more of those keepers that are like the Manuel Neuers, the Edersons of the, of the game that do help you a lot in possession, because nowadays you find Man City, as well as your team even, pressing, people as high as up to the goalkeeper. And so then you need to have a goalkeeper in that situation. If they're pressing you that high up the pitch, you need to have a goalkeeper comfortable in possession. Lloris is not one of those. It's not his fault, though, if you ask me, because he's, like 35, 36. He's from that generation where they weren't really taught that sort of thing, how to be good with your feet and whatnot. It wasn't a huge priority. It was more about being good at shot stopping. And I think still to this day, Lloris is a better shot stopper than Ramsdale. But Ramsdale, I will concede, obviously a lot better with his feet. How do you kind of see the two?
Yeah, I'm very happy with Ramsdale. He's one of the Arsenal players that I actually do rate. And yeah, I think sometimes I've seen him this season once or twice, miss passing the ball out from the back. I mean, it's to be expected. Even the best goalkeepers sometimes do that. It sometimes happens, but it's a little bit frustrating when it does happen. Sometimes you think, you know what, just clear it. If you're being pressed too high, and you know that the nearest defender.
I feel like he's gotten away with a few. Ramsdale, he's made some impressive passes, but I feel like he's gotten away with, like, he hasn't had a howler that I know of, but I feel like he's gotten away with, not having a howler.
And once or twice, the fact that he's a good shot stopper and he's good one-on-one has saved him as well. He's very good one-on-one, very, very good. And I think that saved him, because I can't remember what match it was this season already, but he passed it straight to the opposition player. And literally, like, he saved the shot, and it's kind of like, oh, you forget.
And you didn't expect him to save it. You thought he was going to get beat, after.
Yeah. And I was just like, come on, man. Like, that's just like a rush of blood to the head. But I rate him. But I'm going to be honest. Lloris, obviously, he's the more experienced goalkeeper. At this moment in time, yeah, he probably is the better goalkeeper. But I think Ramsdale has a very high ceiling and could become a better goalkeeper than Lloris. So I'll concede Lloris, because I get the logic behind Lloris.
Everybody, please check out that channel, Northside LDN. I thought that was a very professional answer from him. A very good answer. If I couldn't have put it better myself. Dark Sun G saying here with a super chat, this time we will finally beat you lot at home. Son and Kane are ready, firing, and we have either Basuma or Richie stepping in for Kulusevski. We will win 4-1. Come on, you Spurs. That'd be glorious, Dark Sun G.
Keep the same energy when we slap you at the Emirates.
We need that.
My club, yeah. As much as there's things I don't like about my club, yeah. We seem to turn up against you at home, and that's not.
This is I believe we were talking about this earlier on a fan show we had earlier today, Northside, and I think this is, of all the major Premier League derbies, I believe this one has one of the highest proportion of home team, kind of win percentage situation, where it's like, no matter what, like the form or the personnel or whatever it may be for the home team, they find a way to win. They will get all 3 points. It is almost impossible, it seems like, for any opposition away side in this North London derby to get any semblance of points. And I think this time, though, under Antonio Conte, somehow us Spurs fans are even more confident, or maybe, like you guys would say, even more delusional than usual in this case, because of Mr. Antonio Conte. But a bit of news even for you, Northside, is that Kulusevski might be actually out for this one. So there is actually a bit of thinking that we will switch to bit of thinking we'll switch to a 3-5-2, which is actually what a lot of Spurs fans have wanted for this game, because we have had experience of, us getting kind of overrun in the midfield by Arsenal, especially in this kind of away fixture. But if we went with 3 in the midfield, perhaps threw in, Basuma in there, maybe it could be a different fixture, and we could actually have Kane and Son up top. And I think that might be happening tomorrow, Dark Sun G, with the likes of Kulusevski being out. But that is kind of a bit of an inside scoop there, Northside, if you needed to know. Kulusevski might be out, actually.
Listen, I never wish injury on anyone, but God willing, because I rate that boy. So that's doing me a favor. If
he scares you. Yeah,
he's a good player, man. He's a good player. Don't let no one being salty tell you otherwise. He's a good player, man.
Yeah. He's a good player. What we like about him is that he doesn't need pace. What we like about him is that he doesn't really need pace or anything, if you know what I mean. He doesn't need that that pace to get by his guy or anything. Just uses a bit of technical skill, a bit of strength, a bit of the weight room, as I like to say. He's absolute class. Big up, Dark Sun G. Really appreciate it. THFC Till I Die with a super sticker. And it's just kind of that fox or that cat, just resting, waiting for this North London derby, almost meditating by the looks of it. Big up. Dermot. Really do appreciate it, brother. And then I wish I could be that calm as that emoji or that sticker is. I wish I could be that calm, but I'm absolutely full of nerves going into tomorrow. But by the looks of things, everybody, we did kind of establish maybe Lloris as the sort of looks at as the goalkeeper for this one. Might go into right back, I guess. Listen, I'm a big defender of Emerson because I think we're way too hard on the guy north side, but I'm not going to be that delusional and say that he is better than the likes of Tomiyasu or whatever guy that you would put out there. I don't even know if Ben White is better than him, but I'm not going to have a competition. I think Tomiyasu is already a better right back than he is. So of your choices between Ben White and Tomiyasu, I'm just giving this one to you. I'm not going to have a debate because I think people would be upset with me if I put Emerson ahead. But if you were to pick maybe one of your right backs for Arsenal, which one?
Yeah, Ben White is nowhere near this squad, not even on the bench. He can stay home, get Uber Eats. I don't care. Tomiyasu, yeah, I'd go with Tomiyasu. Just because.
Do you rate him, or am I being too kind to him? Do you think?
No, listen, he's limited. He's limited, but he's a solid, decent right back. He's actually really a centre back, but he plays well as a right back. But Emerson, for me, I just don't rate him. I'll be real. There's players in your squad that I rate. He's not one of them. He's really not one of them. And most of the ones I don't rate in your squad are your defenders, barring Romero.
Yeah, that's true, actually. The defenses are weakest.
Point. Yeah, I don't rate your defense. And that's why I feel like we can get at you. And that's why I think, like, even though our squad ain't that great, I still think that you guys are beatable because your system hides a lot of the deficiencies of a lot of centre-backs that you got that ain't great. But it strengthens them. But at the same time, certain individuals aren't good enough. In terms of Tomiyasu, he's good defensively, and you can't barge him off the ball. And I think defensively, I find him more solid than
I would be more scared if he came up against Son than Ben White. I'll be honest. I think Ben White will have a tougher time against Sonny than Tomiyasu would. If you ask me.
Exactly. Ben White, no way. Ben White, absolutely no way. The guy, nah, man. I don't even listen. This guy, is Maguire's little brother. I'm telling you, he's just a better looking version. I'm telling you, the guy is calamity. He's trash. But Tomiyasu is actually decent defensively. He's strong. He's not slow like Ben White. The thing is with him is it's more about going forward. A lot of times instead of running down the channels, he runs kind of inverted into the middle where it's crowded. If he could add that, overlapping Saka and running down the channels, I think he'd be a lot better as a right back. But
if I were to be honest, though, that's Emerson's problem, though, right now, is that Emerson is actually quite solid defensively. He knows how to get stuck in, knows how to cause people problems defensively and, be a good reader of the game. But he's atrocious going forward in a lot of moments. And I think that's what's tough here is which one are we picking between?
But Tomiyasu's not atrocious going forward. He does the wrong thing.
I see.
So he doesn't, instead of running a channel, he runs invertedly. But the thing is, he's actually decent going forward. He just, I don't want him going into the middle, into the midfield. I want him to run down the channel.
I see what you're saying. That's interesting.
Doing it, if you get what I'm saying. No, don't get me wrong. I don't think he's amazing. And I still think like we need another right back. But Emerson, I'm not impressed. So
that's a good distinction between the two, I would say that, because Emerson, we just know he's just not actually technically that great going forward, where you're saying like Tomiyasu, like he could be good, but he's just doing the wrong thing, like you said. Yeah. I think that's a good distinction. So we're putting in Tomiyasu there. Dark Sun G with a super chat saying it's even. We don't have Kulu and you don't have Emil Smith Rowe. I think we're still going to pretend like these guys are available, Dark Sun G, just maybe for the sake of it, just also for the crack of it. Since we are going 4-3-3, might as well give ourselves a chance here and put up Kulusevski against Saka. I also put it in the title, so that's kind of on me as well, Dark Sun G. I don't know. Are you okay with that north side, that even if they're injured, we can keep them in? Yeah. Alrighty.
Yeah.
Good rule to have. But yeah, we've established that. Dark Sun G with another one saying, to be fair, Royale and Tomiyasu came in at the same time. However, Royale got us top 4 while Tomiyasu modeled top 4. So from that analysis, I think Royale is a bit better over Tomiyasu. Dark Sun G, you're doing exactly what I wanted to say, but somehow I couldn't put it in those words because you know me, I love to defend our boy Emerson Royale, who I also think secretly has the best hair on the team. But Dark Sun G, I think, yeah, to be fair, Emerson, despite him being sort of atrocious on the TV going forward, I must say he's gotten us top 4. He's played in a ton of games, so you can't say that he's detracted too much from our performances, because we've won a lot when he's been on the field, but it's never been too pretty is what I would concede. It's never been too pretty with him on the field. Tomiyasu, he was a bit cheaper than Emerson. I think like 6 million cheaper than the likes of Emerson, and he could probably play center back, Dark Sun G, more than Emerson probably could. I see your logic though in that, and to be fair, I don't think really any of the right backs that are of choice today for Arsenal or Spurs are really that great going forward, because we could do Jed Spence, but we haven't actually seen anything of him. And then David Harris would be very upset if I even put Matt Doherty in there, because I know he doesn't rate him. So I think we're just going to have to stick with that, Dark Sun G. But I love this. I absolutely love this, Dark Sun G. You're defending Emerson better than I could, and I should be the one defending him with that ability. Big yourself up. Let's get going, though. Dermot, I'll get to your super chat in just a second, my man. Don't you worry. But we're going to get going. Center backs, because I do want to be considerate of his time. But center backs, north side, Saliba, I guess, versus, I don't know. This one is tough, because it feels like doing Saliba versus Romero is unfair. Because if you ask me, I think Romero and Saliba are the two best center backs on either team.
Yep. You just got to put both of them in. That's it.
I think it's sacrilegious. I think it's sacrilegious almost to put but one of them on the bench, because I wouldn't want Gabriel in this team. I wouldn't want to see him. To be honest, I wouldn't want to see Moon Boots over Saliba or being Eric Dyer. So I don't know. Should we just kind of shake hands here? It's almost like a stalemate, Romero and Saliba.
No arguments.
I'm very jealous of Saliba. So tell me about him. What are your thoughts on him? I'm very jealous of him, because we needed a center back like that this season, a ball playing center back.
Excellent, man. Excellent. It's still early days. Let's be real. Still early days. But from what I've seen of him, how can you just come into this squad and you're already the best centre-back straight away? And it really goes to show all the crap that certain Arsenal fans were talking about Ben White. How come Saliba's come and he can't get back into this team as a centre-back? He can't.
Yeah, couldn't lace his boots by the looks of it.
Even Gabriel, I mean, we Arsenal fans, we all rated Gabriel, not as world-class or anything, but as a good centre-back that we saw things about. Saliba's blown either one of them, and it's all about intelligence. I think with centre-backs, you can see ability. Like Gabriel, we saw ability. He was quite powerful in the air, and sometimes he was powerful on the tackle as well. But Saliba, he's all those things, but he's intelligent. He knows when to stand off the defender. He knows when to read the game. He knows when to drop back. He knows how to not get caught on a high line. He knows how to lead the defense. And it's like the kid has just come from France, which most people say is a farmers league. Listen, if he continues in this trajectory, he is one of the very few players at Arsenal that do have a really big ceiling.
No, he looks like he'd be world class. And that's the same thing with Romero, actually. I think it's two defenders that are quite young and look like they could be world class, if not one of the best defenders in the world or the Premier League.
I really like Romero. I really like Romero. This is what I'm saying. I don't like that you lot got players that I actually like.
I'm very jealous of Saliba, to be fair to you. I'm very jealous of him. I think it's just because we needed that. We needed to sign two center backs, and we didn't. We signed only one in the case of Longley, and we needed another one like Longley, kind of a tall, sort of ball-playing kind of center back, comfortable in possession, that could kind of go ahead of Dyer or Sanchez. And we didn't really do that. And I think Saliba, of course, we couldn't have actually signed Saliba, but signing someone similar to him, I think would have been a really good move to Spurs. And so I'll just say I'm just kind of jealous of the type of player that maybe he is. I'm not jealous. I don't really want him because he's now touched the Gooner shirt, and you can never do that. Never can wash that out. But as I must say, I'm jealous of that type of player, if you get what I mean. But left back, shall we go there? This one's weird because we have wing backs again. And it's coming up against the likes of Zinchenko or Tierney. I guess the two players we would put up are Perisic or Sessegnon. I'll be honest, Perisic is exceptional going forward. Not great defensively, but exceptional going forward. I would say better than all of the fullbacks that we have, and on your team as well. Going forward, I think he's better than any of them. But he's not great defensively. Sessegnon, on the other hand, I do think is good defensively. And if you wanted to go for a more traditional fullback or a more traditional left back, I think Sessegnon would fit that bill actually a bit better than Perisic. I think Perisic is not really your traditional kind of, he's more of a wing back than anything. So I don't know what I'm trying to say here, but I think we have one good defensive kind of wing back in Sessegnon, and then we have one really good one going forward in Perisic. I don't know what conclusion we take from that, but that's kind of my defense of our players. Zinchenko, Tierney, what are your thoughts on those guys?
I don't even think there's a competition. Tierney gets in there over the both of them. I have to be honest with you.
You really rate Tierney. You really rate Tierney.
Yeah.
Tell me about it.
The problem with Tierney is sometimes he gets a couple of knocks, but when it comes to defensively, he's solid, man. Honestly,
he is solid defensively.
Yeah, he's solid defensively, and going forward, he can whip a ball in. Do you know what I mean? I've seen him do it ever since he's been at Arsenal. He can do it. The problem is sometimes he gets injured, but when he's available and fit and can play, the guy, he hasn't really got that many weaknesses. Of course, his game can get a bit better, but when I look at his overall game defensively, he's solid. I actually still feel like he's better than Zinchenko. Defensively, he's much better than Zinchenko. I've seen Zinchenko be.
He's a more traditional. He's the most traditional fullback, right? Of all of them, Tierney, probably the most traditional, like fits the bill of defensive wise, and like you said, can whip a ball. And if anything, I actually remember when we had Reguilon. That's what I liked about Reguilon, was he was just good at bombing down the wing and being able to whip in a good ball from those sort of positions. And he was also not bad defensively. When I think about it, though, during those days, I probably would have rather had Tierney over Reguilon, and I still rated Reguilon. I actually liked him. But yeah, I'd probably still take Tierney over Reguilon. Here's the thing with Perisic, though, is that Perisic still whips in a better ball than Tierney. Like, the guy can do it with both feet on either side. He takes corners with both feet. In fact, he's also displaced Son on both sides of corners because that's how good he is with both feet. So as good as Tierney is, as I think maybe going forward, and he probably was better than Reguilon going forward, I feel like no one even stands close to Perisic going forward. So this is like where we reach a stalemate again, or some sort of situation where are we picking a fullback on the defensive skills? Because Perisic, I'm sorry, he outclasses Tierney going forward. And
I'm not having that. Do you know why? Yeah, do you know why? And I don't care about this new age. Everyone, but can he do this? No. If you're a defender, what's your main job? What's your first job? What's the first thing you need to be good at? Defending. Everything else is secondary. Whatever position you play, what that position requires, you need to be excellent first at that. There is no point
with the formation we're using.
At Arsenal with Ben White. People say, "No, Ben White because he can play out from the back," but he's pants defensively. So who cares? Do you know what I mean? I'm not saying Perisic is pants defensively, but he's nowhere near on the same level defensively as Tierney. And the main job is to do that. And if Tierney was trapped,
if we're doing a back four too, and if we're doing a back four, you're right. You might be right. And Americanka here on the channel, big Spurs fan, she's saying, I don't think it's fair to compare Perisic, just do Sess and Tierney. Perisic is mostly an attacking player. Yeah, that was my argument, and I wanted to get away with it. Americanka, I thought I could kind of slip it by Northside, but he put up a good defense, maybe like Tierney might tomorrow, to be honest. And if I were to compare Sessegnon and Tierney, I don't think no disrespect to Sessegnon, but I'm not going to put up that much of a defense for Sessegnon. I'd rather defend Perisic against Tierney than I would Sessegnon against Tierney. So I'm going to have to concede there. I'm going to give it to Tierney as much as it does pain me. And I wanted to slip that by him, Americanka, maybe talk about all that world-class ability of Perisic, but he wasn't having it. So maybe we'll put up a better fight with another player. Currently, the Gooners are ahead on us, so I'm going to have to do a better job here, everybody. Going into, I don't know, should we talk about maybe the six? Kind of a holding midfielder here, kind of in this position. Højbjerg is probably the most likely one that we'd be probably throwing up here, maybe against Thomas Partey. I think that's kind of always been the common comparison, is Højbjerg versus Thomas Partey. If you were to take in current form, and you and I were talking about this earlier in the back end, current form, I think Højbjerg absolutely displaces Thomas Partey. I think Højbjerg has like some of the most through balls completed in the league. He has more than even Kevin De Bruyne does this season in terms of through balls. He's been actually Spurs's, I think, player of the month at one stage, or he's been kind of our most consistent player thus far this season. I think he has like 2 goals and 2 assists so far as well. He's actually getting the goals and assists that normally he wouldn't get in previous seasons. As you maybe know, he plays every game till he drops. He's kind of just taken it to another level since like Bissouma's come in. A lot of people thought Bissouma would immediately displace him because, I mean, we've all seen Bissouma. The guy's an absolute boss. But Højbjerg has taken it to another level this season, I must say. He's an absolute beast, and he is a real Viking in this team and a real leader. And if we were to talk about current form here, Northside, I'd say it's a no contest between the two. But Partey is a very quality midfielder. I will concede, very quality. At the same time, if we're talking about current form and also the fact that maybe Partey is a bit injury prone, I think Højbjerg gets into this team simply because he's had actually a sensational season. And if you were to look at form wise, he's basically been our best player, basically our most consistent player this season, if you didn't know.
Personally, I wouldn't have put Højbjerg up against Partey. I would have put him.
Yeah, what would you rather do? What would you rather compare against Partey? Bentancur, is probably the next one, but I would rather play Bentancur against, Saka. I think that's probably more similar, those two.
The thing is, Højbjerg, he's not a CDM, is he? Partey's a CDM. He plays CDM for us.
And yeah, Højbjerg likes to go forward every now and again. He likes to go forward every now and again. You're right.
Who's that?
Højbjerg will go forward every now and again compared to Partey. He'll make those runs forward.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I feel like their role within their squads is different. Partey's more there to sit, and that is why Xhaka has actually improved this season, because it's releasing him to go forward while Partey sits. So Partey's playing more in a defensive role, which is Højbjerg going forward is allowing him to express himself and go forward. He probably is more talented going forward than Partey. I'm not going to argue that. Probably is. But Partey's better defensively. But Partey's role in this squad is to sit. It is not to be going forward, that is the job of Odegaard and of Xhaka to be going forward. So
I feel like Højbjerg's still a better ball winner, though, than maybe Partey might be better. Here's my thing. I think Højbjerg's still a better ball winner than Thomas Partey, if you know what I mean. He knows how to get stuck in.
I disagree. I think Højbjerg is much better than him going forward. But I think Thomas Partey I think he's a bit better than him winning the ball back. And I also see it within Arsenal.
Interesting.
Like the way our midfield is a lot more relaxed than Thomas Partey's there. The problem with Thomas Partey at Arsenal has not been his quality. I'll be real with you. He hasn't been underwhelming. The problem with him has been his availability. He's actually been very, very good. And that's why I wouldn't compare him to Højbjerg. I would have compared more Xhaka. And me comparing Xhaka to Højbjerg, I would have said Højbjerg is the better player because I hate Xhaka. But Xhaka, in terms of form, I have to be real. I have to be real.
This is a tough one.
Form, he has been up there along with Gabriel Jesus this season so far, our best player. He's been consistent every game, Xhaka. And I hate to say it because I don't rate him. I want him out of my club. He's not the level that I want. But if I'm judging Xhaka on current form, it's a bit of a debate. If I'm judging him in terms of qualities of players of Højbjerg and Xhaka, no competition. Højbjerg's in the team. That's my opinion.
This is kind of one of these areas. Here's where I'll go, Northside. This is one of these areas of the pitch where I'm not going to concede on certain players. I'm not conceding on Højbjerg. Like, he's getting into this team somewhere, wherever it may be. I will concede at least one player to you in that midfield, and it's going to be either Odegaard or Partey. I would concede to, because to be honest, as much as people want like that creative midfielder, I mean, I'd be happy to rock Bentancur, Partey, Højbjerg. I think that would be honestly bone crunching. In fact, like that sort of, midfield. I mean, talk about like three absolute stallions in there. It's just like, I think Bentancur, I mean, the reason like we even have a song about him, I mean, we're playing in the Champions League because we bought the guy. We only got him for 19 million. He's proven to be an absolute stallion in that midfield and has basically been the partner that Højbjerg has always wanted. And I don't know if you saw our game against Leicester, but the way he also, pickpocketed Ndidi, I mean, he absolutely just, robbed him in the streets, basically, like sort of, goal where Ndidi tried to turn on him. He absolutely picked his pocket, took it away for a goal. As we like to maybe even say over here in the US with the Yanks, it's basically cookies, as we like to say, just taking his cookies, took it into the goal and, passed it in. I think Bentancur and Højbjerg for me are kind of two players I'm not going to really budge on. And, I know you put up a good defense there, but if you had to pick between Partey and Odegaard, who do you like more, or do you really like them both?
I completely agree with you. Our midfield is trash. Odegaard is hella.
I'm going to let you have one, though, because, we only play with two midfielders anyway. I think Basuma, if Basuma played more, I'd argue for all three. If Basuma played more, I'd argue for all three. I would. But the fact that he hasn't actually played that much, I can't, just to be fair to you. So if you were to pick one between Partey and Odegaard to go up with Bentancur and Højbjerg. Who would you go for?
This midfield has to be Bentancur, Højbjerg, and Partey. Odegaard doesn't get nowhere near. Odegaard doesn't get nowhere
Interesting.
near.
Why do you like Partey more?
Because he actually is good at his job. Odegaard isn't. He isn't. Look, listen, I'm not gonna. This is the problem, yeah. I've seen ballers. I was born in '92. Yeah.
Right.
Odegaard turning up against lower opposition isn't good enough. Every time we come up against the big boys, this guy never turns up. He's hot and cold, and I don't like players that are hot and cold. Do you know what I mean? He's not good enough. He doesn't carve out. He doesn't open up midfield. He doesn't assist Gabriel Jesus enough as a number 10. He doesn't play risky balls. He doesn't shoot enough for my liking. He just doesn't disgruntle defenses enough for me. He doesn't. He plays it very safe. If you put two banks of four in front of Odegaard, he'll just pass it backward, sideways, just ping pong football. I don't really rate him like that. And then, he might score a little set piece, but his overall game, I don't rate. I really don't. That's why I
luxury player, because he tosses between that thing, because people call him a luxury player, saying, he's like a Pogba where he just looks good on the eye sort of kind of guy. Do you think he's one of those where he just looks good on the eye and that's why everybody likes Odegaard?
What's up?
With Odegaard, right? Some people call him a luxury player like Pogba, right? Where they thought he was just good on the eye, sort of kind of, guy, likes to make pretty passes and whatnot. But they say he's actually not that useful, to certain teams where he really doesn't do a whole lot. Well, some people think he's the next best thing since sliced bread, with Odegaard. What do you feel like he's like a Pogba, maybe a bit of a luxury player?
Nah, because I actually think Pogba is world class. He just never had anybody to build a team around him. They wanted him to do things that is not what he excels at. That's what I think about Pogba. I don't think the same about Odegaard. I think Odegaard is what you just said. He makes pretty passes, but his pretty passes go nowhere. If I play backward passes, my pass percentage is going to go up through the roof. But it doesn't mean that I'm making great passes. It just means that I'm making safe ones. So on paper, it looks good, but when you actually watch it, it's not that risky, and I expect the number 10 to be risky. Now, if you're playing a pivot next to the CDM, of course you're gonna have to play the safe ball because you don't want to lose it there because you're gonna put the defenders under pressure. I get it, but where he plays on the pitch, I don't think he's risky enough. I don't think he breaks the defense enough. I don't think he asks questions of the defense enough, and he just plays it safe. And I don't need a number 10 that plays it safe. For me, not good enough. So yeah.
It's interesting. I like hearing that. That's an opinion I haven't heard before with Odegaard, because I feel like the people who maybe don't rate Odegaard as much as others, it's almost like I don't know, it's like you're too scared. Some people are too scared not to rate Odegaard because, like we just said, so pretty on the eye, bit of a luxury kind of the way he plays, and if you just have to, look at it on paper, if you think, listen, he's not actually doing anything that's significant, it takes a lot of bravery to say that. And I appreciate that. And to be honest, I could see where people are coming from with him with that, because the numbers have never been that ridiculous when it comes to Odegaard. So that's when you really look at things like Mason Mount is getting like more goals, and people slag that guy off every day when they get the chance compared to Odegaard. So there you go. I think that's a good way probably to frame it there. Bobby K, I know with the tyranny thing, believe me, I get it. I tried my best with Perisic, but the Americanka, she kind of just overruled, basically just said she agreed with Northside, saying, defense comes first if you're going for a back four. As much as it's really good to be good going forward, you need to have a solid defender. Tierney, we all know, is a better defender than Perisic and is probably better going forward than Sessegnon. So he sort of kind of fits both criteria, maybe a bit better than the others. Whereas the midfield, I like Northside style. He and I are going for bone crunching midfielders, guys that like to get stuck in, guys that know how to do the dirty work. Less of the pretty sort of players in there. But let's go to the front three, and then we'll end it off. This one's probably a bit unfair to you, but I think Northside, no contest here with the two up top between Kane and Son. If you were to make an argument for current form, I think you're welcome to. I'm not going to really listen to it that intently, but Kane and Son, I mean, they're world class, so you just can't leave them off the pitch just because they're world class players. I'm sorry.
So if you have Kane and Son, who would you want on the right? Who would you want?
So I think we'll get to it then. Kulusevski versus Saka. Not waste your time here. I mean, I just sort of went first and overruled you there, so might as well be a gentleman and let you go first here between Saka and Kulusevski.
See, in an ideal world, I'd be able to squeeze in Martinelli. I love Martinelli, man. I love that kid, man. I think that kid could just be like, he's got the potential to become world class, man. Like, I just love the way he plays. But against Son, it's not even a debate. It's not. At this stage in his career, it's not a debate. Saka now against Kulusevski. Okay, cool. This is how I look at it with Kulusevski. Kulusevski, very good player, just like Saka, very good, both very good players, different styles of players. I think Kulusevski's a lot better. I think he's a better creator. I think Saka's a bit faster. But I think Saka's more proven in the Premier League. Kulusevski's been very promising since he's been here, and you can't really knock him. And it's not really his fault. He hasn't been here for long, and he's a talent. I can't lie, he is a talent. And I rate Kulusevski. Saka's more proven. Saka, even though Saka this season hasn't been playing that well, he's still getting goals and assists. And I've been on his case. I'll be real with you. I've been saying, yo, we haven't seen the best from Saka. And it's kind of unfair on Saka because Saka has to play week in, week out, go out on international duty, play, come back to Arsenal. You have to play cup games. You have to start in the Prem. Yeah. Now you have to start in Europe. The guy just doesn't get a rest. I don't completely blame Saka.
He's almost way too young to be putting that burden on, I must say as well.
And this is why I don't care about Project Youth, because it's nonsense. You know, on one hand, people don't want these youngsters to be criticized, but at the same time, the whole project is playing youth players that are going to be inconsistent because
and he's the focal point, and he's the person you look to.
Exactly. Somebody that is going to be inconsistent to no fault of his own. Overall, I think right now, I do think Saka is the better player because I've seen more of him in the Premier League.
Yeah, he's been around longer. No.
Yeah, he's proven himself in the Premier League longer than Kulusevski, and I don't think anyone can really debate.
And he is your best player, I would say, going forward, maybe until Jesus has come into the team to help you out a lot.
Exactly.
But he's been carrying you guys, whereas Kulusevski hasn't had that. To get Kulusevski a bit of love here, and then I think we'll come to a conclusion. But to get Kulusevski a bit of love here, what I think makes him special compared to the rest of the wingers in pretty much the Premier League in general, he's one of the few wingers that's on that sort of high quality and, practically one of the best wingers in the Premier League that doesn't rely on pace, that doesn't rely on, skinning his man at every second, running him behind sort of guy. He is sort of more of a creative winger than anything. He's all about linking the midfield to the attack, being able to be that sort of kind of tricky kind of a customer. He has probably world-class delivery. I don't know if you've probably seen before, but some of the balls that he's been able to put in from that edge of the area, sort of kind of outside the 18-yard box, it's practically picture perfect. The one that he put up for us against Leicester City, Harry Kane, I mean, he could have practically kissed it in. I mean, he could have just put his lips on it and would have gone into the goal. It was that perfect of a ball. Kulusevski, what I think makes him kind of scary, I think, north side of my eyes, is sometimes when he puts in those beautiful crosses or, he just curls it in from, 20 yards, screamer sort of situation, you see that he already has world-class ability in there in his repertoire, where I think Saka does too. But I feel like what we've seen so far from Kulusevski is, I don't know, this sounds crazy to say. I don't want to go to this sort of thing, but if you were to compare in the last year, if you were to make some sort of mixtape or some sort of highlight reel between the two players, I think Kulusevski's would just be absolutely unreal. The guy, the goals that he scored, the assists that he's put up, the numbers that he's put up since coming into the Premier League. I mean, the guy has not really stopped. The guy hasn't taken a breath yet. He's only had, I think, one game or two where maybe he wasn't at, full pedal or, at full force. And the man's been an absolute menace to the Premier League, since coming in. And certain Spurs fans even think he already is world class at this stage. And I don't know. I think I kind of see where they're coming from. But with Kulusevski and Saka, it's just tough because I wish they were more similar players to make this argument, because I think with Saka, he would offer some things that a lot of Spurs fans would probably want, a bit of that dynamism, a bit of that pace, also that versatility. I think Saka basically can play anywhere on the pitch for the most part pretty well. That's what makes him a good asset for you guys too. Because if I recall, I think Arsenal has played him from left wing back to left wing to cam to right wing. You guys have played him everywhere. And he's had he's carried the burden for you guys. He's carried all that pressure for you guys for the most part, where Kulusevski gets to kind of, let Son and Kane sort of carry the burden. And it's tough for me. It's tough for me. But I would say since Kulusevski has come in, my last point, since he's come into the Premier League, I mean, this man has been a menace since coming into the Premier League.
100%. There's no denying that. But, somebody in the comments has put up the stats, Saka and Kulu. You have to understand. Look at the squad that we just made there. Yeah, your attack is levels above our attack, and Saka was the main guy last season. In the midfield, look at our midfield. We got no creatives that get into this combined 11. What does that tell you? We have no world-class striker until Jesus came in. Okay, you got Kane.
That's true.
Kind of a trump card against a lot of other starting combined 11s. Jesus will get in there, but Jesus only came this season. So when you're looking at the supporting cast of Saka, he hasn't really had that many great players. Like Xhaka isn't world-class. Partey only came recent, and he's not even a creator. He's a CDM. Then you've got Fabi Vieira that's only come now, and he's not that great. You know, Martinelli's learning on the job just like Saka. You may look at Saka and say, "Oh, look what he's got, this, and that." But at the same time, it's not a great cast that he's got around him. Our midfield is trash. Jesus ain't gonna set up. You know, he's looking to score goals himself. He's not a creator, really. He's gonna link people into the game and get people involved, but he's gonna look to score goals himself. Listen, it is what it is. I do think I will say this though. As much as I love Saka, Kulusevski, I think will probably have more longevity because you find that players that rely more on their skill and their reading of the game last longer.
He's almost Berbatov-esque, Kulusevski.
Exactly. Whereas someone like Saka, because he relies on pace, that is one of the first things that goes when you start hitting your 30s, especially your mid-30s. So you become less effective because you like Cristiano Ronaldo. You know, for my national team in Portugal, he's not as effective because he's lost the pace. And the thing is,
he can't use it as often. That's all it is. Like, I think guys like Saka, right? They're able to just run endlessly because they're young. They have all that energy. And then on top of the fact that they're able to run forever, they're also really fast. So there's, you know, like double benefit of them being very pacey as well as being able to run forever. But eventually, like you just said, these guys can't run forever. They're going to reach a stage where they conserve their energy a whole lot more. And someone like Kulusevski, who's never had to rely on pace ever in his entire game ever, it actually more relies on his strength than anything, because what he does is he gets by his guy and he usually kind of shields them, you know, afterwards, and kind of just makes it impossible for them to step in front. I mean, he's only going to get better with that over time, because I think the older you get, as we know, we get a bit heavier in the gut region and things like that. So he'll get a bit stronger, if anything. It's tough because I think Saka, here's where I'll give him a bit of praise. He's been carrying you guys, and there's a lot of praise for that because he's a young kid at the end of the day, and he shouldn't be carrying you guys. It says a lot about Arsenal in my eyes that you guys have been asking a 19-year-old. I think he was 19 at the time, when you basically told a 19-year-old, listen, you're our best player. We need you to carry us in a top 4. And it's like, okay, how are you expecting a 19-year-old to do that when you have Kane and Son, experienced pros of the Premier League, doing, you know, the same thing? It's kind of unfair to Bukayo Saka, if you ask me. Where Kulusevski, I think they're kind of both secretly future world-class wingers, future world-class wingers. But Kulusevski has, I'll concede, the benefit of not being in the spotlight as much as Kane and Son have. Where, I mean, Saka, he's like all over your all or nothings. He's the main guy. He's the guy that you look at. He's the sort of pretty face in the dressing room as well, like for the Amazon cameras that they always point towards too. So I don't know. It's just, they've had entirely different roles in the team, you know, Kulusevski and Saka. Despite playing the same position, they have entirely different roles and expectations. I will say, though, I appreciate that you said that maybe Kulusevski has more longevity. I think because it's a Spurs channel, we're putting Kulusevski in there, north side. But I think that was a really good discussion. I mean, let's just admit, I think that was a really good discussion about Saka and Kulusevski. Really good chat.
There's no right or no wrong answer with Kulusevski Saka, because
I agree.
We don't ultimately know what their ceilings are going to be like, and both of them are very promising. Do you know what I mean? So it's kind of like we don't. It is what it is. I get why you put Kulu. I'd put Saka, but also you go to see. This is why I feel like we can beat you. Look at how we done a combined 11, yeah, and I feel quite amicably. Our defense is stronger, yet. And this is probably why you lot play the 3 at the back. You know what I mean? Because he's seen that.
Dave says this all the time. Dave says this exactly what you just said. Says that all the time. The reason we play 3 in the back so much, and the reason we look so conservative sometimes in games, is because our defense cannot be relied upon.
But then look at your attack, and then look at our attack.
We can rely on the attack. We can't rely on the defense. You can rely on the defense. You can't rely on the attack by the looks of
And
things.
this is why neither team is going to win the league. Because you can't. You can't. I had one Spurs fan. I forgot him. He comes. I forgot his name. I don't know what's going on with me. But he was like, "Oh," I said, "Look, under Conte, I could see Tottenham winning a cup." But I said, he goes, "Nah, we're going to win the Champions League. We're going to win the league." I'm like, "Nah." When I'm looking at your team, there's too many players there that we can get got at. Dyer can get got at. You know what I mean? Royale can get got at. In my opinion, he can get got at. When you're looking at other players as well, Sessegnon can get got at. They can get got at, and the defense is what wins you leagues. That's what wins you the major honors, and you lot don't have that.
It's sad that Emerson is our best defender of all of our fullbacks. Emerson's actually our best defender of all of them. That is not a good thing. That is not a good. That's bad, and especially with the center backs. With the center backs, we don't really rate Dyer too much on this channel in certain moments. Like, he's been good this season, but we know that he's capable of a howler. Sanchez has absolutely no rating on this channel whatsoever. So, I mean, I'll concede to you. And like I said before, and I'll say it again, I am very jealous of the fact that you guys have a player like William Saliba. We need a guy like William Saliba, and I hope we find one in the January window, because I don't even know if we can go the whole season without another, quality center back available to us, because if our only backup to Eric Dyer or Romero is Sanchez, I mean, we're screwed. We're absolutely screwed for the rest of the season. So I think we can all agree on that. Your defense is probably better than ours, but the attack of ours is absolute worlds, difference, and it's just how it is. But Northside, appreciate you coming on, my man. Just going to take this super chat quickly from Dermot. Going to throw your channel in there, but he says, being a Spurs since the day I was born, 45 years later, seen a lot of North London derbies. This is the one, or seen a lot of North London derbies. It's the one-off game I look for. It's the best derby in the world. Come on, you Spurs. Come on, you Harris Army. It is actually one of the best one-off derbies. And just maybe a follow-up, Northside, while I kind of search your channel, put it in the chat and whatnot, all that good stuff. Isn't that kind of what makes, I think, this derby maybe more special to the other sort of Premier League derbies? It does feel like it's often a very one-off derby. No form goes into it or anything. You can't even bother to think about form going into this.
It's just the energy, man. Even when I grew up and you guys were, and listen, now they're going to start thinking I'm cocky, but it's a fact. And what I'm about to say is the fact.
The energy
you guys were irrelevant. You were irrelevant in terms of winning trophies. You were irrelevant. It didn't matter. But yet, even with your irrelevance, in terms of challenging us to go for the league, challenging us in cups, the North London derby was always a North London derby. And what annoys me and infuriates me with Arsenal right now is that I'm seeing a little bit of the reverse. Not to the point where you're winning trophies, because even with your best squad and Harry Kane and Son, you lot still ain't winning nothing.
Still waiting for one. It's
the fact that you do have individuals that are better. You got a better manager, you got a better striker, you got a better winger. Do you know what I mean? That never used to be the case. And while Arsenal's become complacent and project youth and give the manager time and it's negative to want success and to demand success, you guys have got better. Now, ultimately, you always want to win a North London derby. Mm-hmm. But until you guys start winning trophies, it means nothing. And it's not, oh, he's an Arsenal fan, he's being salty. It's no pucaria like that. It's the fact. Football is about winning trophies. I hate Man United, but they're a bigger club than mine because of trophies. We are a bigger club than you because of trophies. That until Tottenham do that, you're never. I always want to beat you, but it's not the pinnacle of where I want to get to. If you get what I'm saying, I want to win.
It's not the trophy of the season. It's not a trophy for you.
It's not. It's not. So at the end of the day, until you lot do, and I think that's fair. I think that's fair because I hate Man United, but I cannot deny that they're a bigger club because of trophies. And Tottenham, I don't know what the vibe is because I'm not a Tottenham fan and I hate Tottenham.
No, I mean, to be fair, sometimes our priorities
do your fans demand success? Because my fans don't. I'm the minority. Me, Lee Gunner, Jez, Kenny Ken, we're the minority and we get attacked because we want the best and we want to win and we don't care about one-off game. And no, we want to win the league. That's what we want from our club, or that's what we demand. And that's the standard I have. At Tottenham, I want to ask you a question. At Tottenham, do most Tottenham fans demand success, or are you guys just happy to be in and amongst it?
I think that's what's going. We're going through that cultural change right now because before, while we are, I think, a massive club, we didn't have the investment nor the right decision making to even be considered close to challenging for real success. I think where the problem lies, though, is we don't need to be winning the league to not still be challenging for trophies. Right, Northside. Like you can still challenge for an FA Cup, you can still challenge for a Carabao, you can still push in the domestic competitions without needing to beat Man City to win the league or anything. And I think that's where Spurs fans have maybe become a bit sort of, I think we all have, probably become a bit disillusioned over time period where we have actually sort of slept walked through these past, what has it been, 14 years since we last won a trophy in 2008. We've sort of slept walked and actually not realized that we haven't been pushing for the domestic trophies. We haven't been pushing for, I think, the trophies that are achievable. Because like you said, no matter what, it's nice to be able to point to something at the end of the season that you succeeded with. And I think with us, it would have been a Carabao. It would have been a League Cup. It would have been an FA Cup. And that would have been real success for Spurs and something that would have shown that we actually have some sort of ambition and we do actually have something that we're pushing towards. But we've actually not done that, even under Pochettino, kind of similar to actually Lego Man over at Arsenal. He played exceptionally, beautiful football, very aesthetically pleasing. But that guy used to bow out of the League Cups and bow out of the FA Cups so quickly that, you're actually forgetting that, we were supposed to be competing in those competitions a lot harder and actually not looking at the league. And we were actually prioritizing sort of top four under Pochettino at a certain time period. We thought top four was better than actually pushing for an FA Cup or actually pushing for a Carabao. And it's actually come to our own detriment, I think, because of that. But I don't know. It's tough, Northside, because I think Spurs fans, they don't come from the same background, let's be honest, as Arsenal fans. Like, we don't have an Invincibles. We don't have the Thierry Henrys of the time period, most recently. But at the same time, to prove you right and to agree with you, we're going through that change right now because of Antonio Conte. And we're going through that change right now because Son and Harry Kane, if they don't get success soon, I mean, these guys are going to be out of here, or these guys might actually go whatever it's been 10 years at Spurs without ever winning anything of real significance. So that would be a huge loss, I think, for us. And it would be a scar, in fact, on our history if we had Harry Kane never get a trophy. So
and Kulusevski.
Kulusevski has plenty of time. He's got 10 years with us. I think he's sticking with us, but I know what you mean.
I tell you what, when you have a fan base like Arsenal's now, the new generation, that everything is a round of applause, everything is get a DVD out, everything is get excited. Oh, Project Youth. Yeah. When you have that mediocrity mindset, you also have players coming to your club using you as a stepping stone. I've seen it at Arsenal. And that will happen with Spurs. Yeah, you guys have been lucky with Son and Kane that they are still there. But Kane, if he didn't have the contract, he would have left. If contractually he didn't have any more years, he would have left. And Kulusevski, if he gets to the pinnacle that that you lot are saying he's going to get to, eventually who got tired of being at Tottenham? Because most players don't support the clubs that
he might not do what Son did and stick around forever. Yeah, he might
exactly.
Not do that.
And the fault it's the fault of the owner for not having enough ambition and the fans not demanding enough. Because when you allow mediocrity, that doesn't mean that those players out on the pitch want mediocrity for their career. A lot of them didn't even grow up supporting our clubs. Most of them didn't. Most of them are mercenaries. I say this to Arsenal fans now. Would Sol Campbell trade Tottenham to come to Arsenal now in his current form? I don't think so. The reason he came is because we were better. We were winning titles. We won the big dogs in terms of the way we were challenging year in, year out. Players don't care about clubs, they care about their legacy. And the ones that don't care about legacy are the ones that will strip your club of all the money, like Ozil. They're mercenaries. They don't give a crap. They'll just take all the money they can out of football. So it's kind of like, it's to the detriment of your club. Now, I don't care about Tottenham. I'm just giving it to you guys as Tottenham fans.
No, it's a good question to ask.
If you want to keep Kulusevski, you have to because I say this about Arsenal. Martinelli, Saka, and Gabriel Jesus, they're not going to stay here if we continue to be mediocre. If we continue to go and get bargain bucket flipping players like Lokonga and Ben White, they're not going to want to, because none of them grew up thinking, oh, I want to play with Xhaka. Oh, you know what? I want to play with flipping Fabio Vieira. Like, no, they want to play with big boys, and especially when they're seeing Man City and Liverpool looking at them. And what happens is your club trains these players up, then the bigger boys come, take them, and they get the best years out of them. I've seen it with Van Persie. I've seen it with Fabregas. I've seen it with Haleb. I've seen it with so many players at Arsenal. Yeah. And if Tottenham continue that is what you will be, a feeder for even other clubs, Real Madrid, Barcelona. I've seen it happen to Arsenal, and this is why I want better for my club. I don't want to bum a flipping B-Tech, flipping Pep Guardiola with a hairline in as a manager for my club. Do you know what I mean? That's not good enough. You know what I mean? But at the same time, as much as I'm not happy with my club and the fact that we got bums in my squad like Rob Holding saying he's happy at 26 years old to be a bench boy, the matter of fact is this: until Tottenham start winning something, as much as
he's
I
the Harry
Arsenal,
of your team.
Tottenham fans can't really. I don't really care what they're saying, because first of all, the standard for Arsenal for me is to win the league. So
one of us has to start winning something.
And you guys got to win. If you not want people to respect you guys, maybe in the way or view you guys the way maybe you want to be viewed, you have
like
to win.
HJD says right here.
Winning
I love my
shuts
team.
everyone up. It shuts your rivals. It shuts everyone up. When we won the league at White Hart Lane, you can't chat. When we won leagues and we were the only ones competing with Man United in the 90s, you can't debate that. Winning the league, you can't. It's indebatable. Do you get what I'm saying? And as a Tottenham fans, listen. It is what it is. Up to you guys.
HJD agrees with you right here, my man. HJD saying, I love my team and I wouldn't have it in any other way, but until we start winning things, we will always be ridiculed by other clubs. I mean, you said that verbatim at one stage. The North Side, absolutely spot on, my man. Just going to get another super chat from Dermot. We're going to put in Northside's channel in one more time because there are plenty of comments, my man, showing you a bit of love, and then we'll let you go here. Dermot saying, let's get one thing right. Apart from winning cups, I want to beat Arsenal 2 every season. For me, Tottenham are the kings of North London. Absolutely agree, Dermot, and we'll show it tomorrow, brother. Don't you worry. But to Northside's point, Dermot, just in all seriousness, to Northside's point, it does feel like, we are kind of maybe, I don't know, because I feel like Arsenal and Spurs are coming from 2 different vantage points. I think our Spurs have been progressing, and I think Spurs have been getting better and more of a formidable force over time. Well, as I'll be honest, Arsenal, I'm happy to say it, have been regressing. So Spurs have been progressing. Arsenal have been regressing. It's just, how far do Spurs fans really want to go with this progression? Can we keep asking for more? Can the ambition keep coming? Can we keep pushing ourselves to ask for more? That is the question. And I'm sometimes guilty of that. Sometimes I'm a bit complacent with things because I am a Spurs fan at the end of the day. And to answer Northside's question from earlier, we have a history of complacency, kind of us as Spurs fans, whereas Arsenal fans are all of a sudden regressing towards complacency. Talk about how the tides have changed. But Dermot, absolutely. Kings of North London tomorrow, and really appreciate your love, my man. I really appreciate your support. The Americanca saying Northside's YouTube thumbnail game is absolutely on point. Good to see that. I have actually been impressed by the thumbnails as well. Stefan saying Northside must have high expectations with his hairdresser too. That hair is absolutely perfect. Love to see that, Stefan. Great compliment, my man. Bobby K says, I like this guy you brought on, Jack. Sensible. Big up, mate. David Harris found him, Bobby K, and he's been really great on this channel, and everybody do show him some love. Seb Oswald saying, an Arsenal supporter with some common sense. I mean, that's pretty much been the common sort of, you could say, review of Northside since being on this channel. But my man, any sort of kind of final points or anything that you want to say, especially if you want, I know you like to say nobody goes over to the rival fans channel, but let's say you are in meltdown tomorrow. Let's say you are, 4-0 down. I'm pretty sure they might actually head over to your channel, maybe even more than our channel, just to see what's headed on. So tell us about the channel, and just from David and I, really appreciate you coming on this week.
Nah, come on. Love for having me on, guys. Honestly, I really appreciate it. It's been fun. Like I said before, you guys are a lovely bunch of guys. It's just a shame that you're Spurs fan, but it's just a shame. But it is what it is. We still got love for you, but yeah, it is what it is. Northside LDN is the channel. And yeah, this is how it is on the channel. I say what I have to say. Sometimes I have some Arsenal fans that the truth is too hard to swallow. But there's a lot of level-headed Arsenal fans, and yeah, just created the channel because I felt like the biggest channels, Arsenal channels, I think misrepresented how all fans feel. It was kind of more everyone's very happy with being mediocre, when I don't think that's the case. So hopefully I show that there's loads of fans like myself. There's loads of fans like myself. It's not just me, And once upon a time I was watching YouTubers, and I was thinking, very few that were talking the way or saying exactly what I was thinking. So listen, if you do ever want to see some Arsenal content that isn't the manager's the greatest and we've got the best youngsters in the world and we've got the best players in the world, everything's amazing, come over to Northside LDN. And yeah, man, I have a
And at the
blast.
end of the
Listen,
day,
I need to get you on after the match. You know, win or draw, win or lose, draw, whatever. I need to get you on the channel anyway after.
Love that. Love that. And also Shamu says at the end of the day, we're all football fans. And I think this is also still easily the best rivalry in the Premier League because we've made a whole week of it. I mean, I don't even know if there are other rivalries in the Premier League where you can just have people coming on every day on the channel, there's kind of, while maybe throwing the banter back and forth, also kind of showing some love for the fact that we both are huge, massive football clubs going into this big derby, a very historic derby, and probably the one that the Premier League maybe has the most pride for, as much as, like you just said, maybe both teams haven't won anything significantly. It is still, I think, the biggest derby in the Premier League, no doubt. But everybody, that'll do from us over here at the Irish Hotspur. As much as he hates to hear it, I'm going to give a big come on, you Spurs. And in Conte, we trust. We'll be smashing the Gooners tomorrow. Kings of North London, like Dermot said. But really do appreciate you, Northside.
How did you become a Spurs fan? Just quickly.
The Yanks just get to kind of have the freedom of choice, is what I would say. I kind of didn't really want to be picking a team like Man United or Chelsea that, or especially Chelsea, where, football began in 2003 for them. But I didn't really want to, be a bandwagon sort of supporter. I wanted to be a club that, caught my eye. I liked, Modric at the time. So I joined when Modric was there. I joined, when the likes of Adebayor and whatnot, Berbatov, those sort of days. So there were a lot of players that we had that I enjoyed that, I kind of have found aesthetically pleasing. But at the same time, I enjoyed being a team that I knew should have been playing a lot better than they actually were and should be shooting a lot higher than they actually were. But, I enjoy that pain. I enjoy the struggle. That's what I would say.
You really like that badge?
I love the badge. You can tell by how much I love the pain just from right there. You can tell.
He's got to say that to keep the subscribers.
Oh my Lord, can't. That's no way. People have heard me. I'm a glutton for pain. Absolutely love it, my man. Absolutely love it. But since I've been a Spurs fan, all I've known is Spurs being above Arsenal since I've been a Spurs fan these past 10 years. So I've gotten quite used to it. A bit of something you could say fine wine I've gotten used to is us finishing above you a lot. But Northside, appreciate you, brother. And we'll finish off for now. Big up, everybody. We'll be seeing you.